In a world where legends rise and fall with every punch, where the roar of the crowd fades, but the stories live on. This is where those stories are told. This is Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From the blood, the sweat, and the glory, to the controversies, comebacks, and knockouts, we go behind the ring, no fluff, no hype, and definitely no BS. Just the truth behind the fight game. And we've been doing it for over 2 decades. A podcast pioneer, now a Hall of Famer.
Great. What's that ego gonna be like?
And next, the comeback kid.
Wait, isn't he like 90 or something?
Shut up, he'll hear you. The reigning, defending, undisputed, heavyweight champion of boxing broadcasting. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. And it's on now.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. So good morning, good day, good evening. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show, guess what? It's being brought to you in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. I mean, you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to this very show. Just go to Amazon.com, or I'll tell you what, I do believe there's still a special. The publisher's still running a special, and you could check that out, BillyCBoxing.com. And today's show is also being brought to us by Classic Boats. If you're looking to get a classic boat, custom-made boat, check out the inventory worldwide, by the way. So everybody listening in the UK, check it out too. It's classicboats.co. Classicboats.co. As usual, as we always try, I got a busy show. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to Love It. She's in the chat room, numero uno, first one in there. So congrats on that. Busy show. First and foremost, I'm going to be giving you my opinion on who I feel Ryan Garcia should fight next. The 2 top candidates are, of course, Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Why don't you stop over in the chat room and make them known. I'm also going to be updating you on the latest boxing news and some rumors that are floating around. I'm going to be breaking down and predicting not 1, not 2, but 3 fights that are scheduled this weekend. All, I think, are going to be pretty competitive. First one starting on Friday, and the other 2 will be on Saturday. I got a bunch of other stuff I want to talk about. This week's guest is a really interesting guest. Carl Weingarten is going to be joining us. He's done some great work collecting and digitizing and putting together some famous fights from yesteryear, and I just can't wait to talk to him about that. He's put it all together. I'm really looking forward to it. But first, let's get caught up on some fight results that took place over the weekend. Now, when I give you the fight results, these are the fight cards that I felt were the most entertaining fights that, I watched. I could run down just who won, but the fights that I've watched, and I like to give you my thoughts on them. And I like to do it in an order, not so much if it's a big, significant fight, I will do that first. But this week, I'm putting them in the order of excitement. I'm going to give you the results and what I thought of the fights based on the excitement level. And I got to go first to the Irish card that was on St. Patrick's Day weekend in Dublin. Jazza Dickens and Anthony Kakachi were the headliners. They were the main event, and Jazza Dickens was putting his title on the line in Ireland on St. Paddy's Day. Okay, pretty exciting as the fight turned out, and I thought it was, I'll be honest with you. At the end of the day, Kakachi won and became the new champion. 115, 113, 116, 112, 116, 113 were the way the 3 judges scored it. Dickens loses his sixth fight. He's 36-6 now with 15 knockouts. And the new champ, Anthony Kakachi, he's 25-1 with 9 knockouts. My thoughts on this fight, if you've never seen Kakachi, he's a real tall guy. And we're talking about a junior lightweight, so super featherweight. So he's real tall and lanky. And this fight was if I'm Jazza Dickens, I know what I have. I know what I'm going to be looking at. I know I'm going to be giving up 5 inches of height and significant arm reach. He had to go in and take some chances, and basically he just couldn't get the distance because Kakachi did a great job working the jab and following it up and won the fight. The scores were all legit. It was an entertaining fight. However, the most entertaining fight of the weekend, all right, forget about just this card. The most entertaining fight of the weekend is Pierce Big Bang. I was ready to say Big Bang Butler, but no. Pierce Big Bang O'Leary fought Maxie Hughes in a this guy. Remember how I've told you how much I like the featherweight Nick Ball, right, who just lost because he's nonstop action, coming forward, throwing punches. Well, this Big Bang O'Leary is just the same. And, he came over and basically beat the snot out of Maxie Hughes. He picked up the IBO super lightweight title, the world title. He's now 19-0 with 11 knockouts. And Hughes, he was a good fighter. He drops to 29-9 with a couple of draws and 6 knockouts. Keep an eye on Pierce Big Bang O'Leary. I mean, he to me, he was a throwback fighter. He worked the body really, really well and was throwing lots of punches. And when he landed, he was throwing punches to hurt his opponent every single time. He wasn't trying to pussyfooting around. One thing I will say, he needs to learn a little defense. He was wide open the whole time. It's just that his smothering style didn't give Hughes a chance to fight back. And another fight that was on the card that I thought was pretty entertaining. It was a real good boxing match, in a sense. There was no. Although the winner did use some roughhouse tactics, but he also used fleet of foot. He was able to move around the ring pretty well, and that was Carroll going up against Calm Murphy. And Juno Carroll is was a guy that he's a veteran. He wasn't really supposed to win the fight, but Calm Murphy was the protege. He was the undefeated fighter that was, and he looks good. He's young, I'm sorry, Carroll upset Murphy. Murphy was the young fighter. Man, I'm all messed up today, huh? But I enjoyed the fight. The kid is young, tall. I'm just getting the names mixed up, but that's my stupidity today. But Carroll improves to 26 wins, 3 losses, and a draw. And Murphy lost his first. He's now 16-1. The way Carroll won this fight was just moving around and making it difficult for Murphy to land some solid punches. He did at times, but he should have been a little more aggressive. One note I want to make is that there was a world heavyweight amateur heavyweight champ that made his professional debut. I had never seen or heard of him before. His name was Adam Olarian. They gave him a proverbial punching bag, but this guy looks pretty good. I am going to keep an eye on him. Again, his name is Adam Olavian, and he's 1-0 with 1 knockout at this point. Okay, in another fight that was on the zone, which featured a couple of good fighters, Arnold Barbosa going up against Kenneth Sims. What made this fight so important, and there might have been some title on it, I don't know, but I didn't think of any title on a real title on this fight. Both fighters coming off of losses. Barbosa took the fight. The way the judges scored it, 117, 111, 118, 110, 120 to 108. Barbosa is now 33-1 with 11 knockouts. Sims drops to 22-4 with a draw, and 8 of his wins coming by knockout. Sims was talking smack before the fight. He was talking smack during the fight, and really he wasn't all that, And Barbosa fought the fight. I will tell you this: Barbosa was in phenomenal shape. This guy was bouncing around the ring like he could have went another 20 rounds. It was unbelievable. It was really exciting and entertaining to see on that one. So we had some good fights. And then on early Sunday, Nonito Donaire, this one flew under my radar anyway, but Nonito Donaire, 43-year-old former champion, took on WBA bantamweight for a bantamweight eliminator fight for the number one position to get the world title fight. And he took on Riku Masuda, who went into the fight with only 11 pro fights, 10-1 with 9 knockouts. But Nonito Donaire, he looked pretty good in the beginning of the fight, but he faded really quick, and the fight was waved off at 1 minute and 12 seconds of the 8th round by Nonito Donaire's corner. Hopefully this is the end for Nonito. He's got nothing left to prove, in my opinion. Anyway. All right. Here we go with sorry about that. I was stumbling through those fights. You kind of thought that I didn't watch them, but they were real good, especially that middleweight fight, O'Leary. Man, you got to keep an eye on him. All right. I got some news, or the word on the curb. First and foremost, there's been talk going on about Boots Ennis going to look for a fight against the current WBO and WBA world champion, Xander Zayas. Word on the curb is that they're discussing a fight because of the Virgil Ortiz fiasco, and Boots might be looking to take on Zayas. Be careful what you wish for. My thoughts on Boots. I know he looks good, and he has totally displayed a lot of talent. However, I don't think he's really fought a top fighter yet. And, when you're fighting, or he's fought some names, but beyond their prime, when you're not challenging yourself and you're looking so superior against, not that great opposition, it's really hard to gauge how good you really are. Should this fight with Boots Ennis and Xander Zayas take place, I think we'll really get to see what Boots Ennis is made of. Because if he handles Zayas the way he has handled several of his last opponents, then I got to admit that he's the real deal. But he needs to beat a guy like Zayas like now. That's my opinion on that. I think he needs to make those fights against the top fighters now when they're still top fighters. It was reported that my man Jesse Bam Rodriguez upped his contract with Matchroom Boxing, and they're looking to have him make another fight. He doesn't know if he can get the last fight to win the last belt so he can unify 115-pound title. And if he can't make that happen, he's going to move up to 118. That's the word on the curb on him. And you remember Jared Anderson, he's used to be considered a top heavyweight prospect, looking like he's trying to make a substantial comeback, and that he's looking to get a deal, a co-promotional deal with Top Rank and Queensberry. Top Rank currently has paper on him now, but Anderson is looking to fight in the UK, and he's going to have to give up a little with Queensberry. So Oscar De La Hoya said that, Ryan Garcia is healing up nicely, his hand. As you know, in his last fight, he hurt his hand, and it's healing. And they're looking to get him back in the ring as soon as possible. And Oscar De La Hoya said that he really feels that the fight should be against Devin Haney. And, I'm not so sure. I don't know. This is a great segue. One of my main topics today is who should Ryan Garcia fight? Should he fight Devin Haney next, or should he consider going after Shakur Stevenson? Now, the thing about Stevenson, you heard those two guys talking smack to each other after Ryan's fight, and Ryan said that he wants to fight Shakur. One thing that I always give Ryan Garcia credit for is that he does want the big fights. He challenges himself. So really, the two biggest fights out there financially and for him appear to be Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney. Now, here's the thing. Oscar's talking about Devin Haney. A lot of people want to see a rematch with Devin Haney. Devin Haney wants to see the rematch himself. Here's my thought. I would much rather see Ryan Garcia fight Shakur Stevenson. I think that if Ryan Garcia fights Shakur Stevenson now, number one, it really tells a lot about Ryan Garcia and that he's not bullshitting about how he wants to fight the best fights. That's number one. They were talking about it. From what I understand, the negotiations kind of stalled a little bit. If you recall, Shakur Stevenson was all gung-ho, and he had made a statement in the past that he was going to stay at welterweight. Remember, previously he said that he wanted to go back down to junior welter after that fight. But then after the whole fiasco, being stripped of the belt and all of this stuff, he said, you know what, I'm going to stay at 147. And then when they started talking about the fight with Ryan Garcia, who won the belt at 147, Shakur Stevenson is saying, well, no, I want you to, I want to fight at 140 with a rehydration clause. So, Ryan says he has no problem fighting him at 140. He'll go to his weight, but he can't have a rehydration clause. My point is, why are we looking for excuses, Shakur? You talked a lot of smack. Ryan's willing to fight you. The smartest thing to do is fight at 147. Shakur Stevenson looked fantastic at 147. As a matter of fact, it was my basic fight, that his Shakur Stevenson's last fight. I thought to myself that he just proved to me that he's as good as some people said. I was just a little, because he wasn't exciting. He's talented. I never took his talent away, but he just didn't have that excitement factor. Okay. I think by hanging with my man, Terrence Crawford, because he looked a little more aggressive against Lopez. I mean, the bottom line is I thought it was his best performance. In my opinion, I would like to see that fight, because let's be real, boys and girls, the Devin Haney fight's not going to get old. Ryan Garcia could lose and still have the Devin Haney fight, and the desire for the Devin Haney fight would still be just as much as it is. All right. You could say all you want about the PEDs, but Ryan Garcia beat the snot out of Devin Haney, and he'll do it again, So, I mean, that's the way it is, but in any event, what are you saying? My man's saying, is this live or is it pre-recorded? What are you talking about? Anyway, it's live. And speaking of which, anyway, I was just curious to know what your thoughts were about that. Who would you like to see Ryan Garcia fight next? I hear all kinds of rumors about, Devin Haney already getting another fight, but I don't think so. I think they're waiting for Ryan's hand to heal. And I think if Oscar's right, they're going to push for Devin. If they ask me, I think Shakur. I think we should do the Shakur Stevenson fight. I mean, you got two fighters, both are big draws. That's a big money fight right there. I mean, come on. Hey, listen, let's face it. Devin Haney, he can't draw flies. He can't draw flies at a garbage meat. He just can't. He's not an exciting fighter. And, his father doesn't do him any justice. He's not a fan favorite. Let's face it. People want to go see Ryan, love him or hate him. They want to go see him. And and with Shakur Stevenson, he's got a great fan base. I like the fight. I like the fight. I like Shakur Stevenson against Ryan Garcia if possible, but it sounds like it definitely sounds like he's going to be leaning towards Devin Haney if you listen to what Oscar De La Hoya was saying over this past weekend. So it was announced officially today, but 2 days ago that DAZN and Top Rank just signed a deal. Now, they're doing. They agreed to 8 from a range between 8 to 10 cards, and Top Rank's going to get between $1 million and $1.25 million for each one. So he's looking at, if he does 10 fights, Top Rank's looking at pulling in $10 million a year deal with DAZN. I wonder how they feel about that because they had a $80 million, actually it was between $80 and $90 million deal with ESPN for 30 events. No wonder why ESPN got to lose. That's a lot of money, but let's see. I'm getting a question just to prove I'm live to my man. He's asking if we're live. He says, is it true DAZN will only pay Top Rank $1 million per card? So that means prospect bounce only? No, it's between $1 million and $1.25 million for the broadcast rights to do it. That's a lot of money. I mean, I know what you're saying. If you're talking about a major fight, but the major fights are a different animal. What they could maybe do is, have it separate as a pay-per-view. Not that I recommend you not getting their full-blown one. That's a good question. I think that he did a lot of stuff with ESPN in Japan. That's got to be expensive. But I don't know, man. I think $1 million per card is not too bad. It's not too bad. I think he's going to be able to put on some decent shows, to be honest with you. And in any event, I think it's big for DAZN. In my opinion, DAZN is really it's the place for boxing. I hate to say it. I'm not getting paid. I should get paid to promote them, but I'm not. And the truth of the matter is it's good for boxing. There's nothing more that I love than watching, boxing on all day on Saturday, morning, afternoon into the night. I love the cards from Europe because they're so much better. But yeah, Top Rank and DAZN. DAZN doing good. They got now Top Rank. They got Matchroom. They got Golden Boy and Queensberry. I mean, geez. So you think Zuffa Boxing is going to do anything about that? Like John says, all the balloons come down. I mentioned Zuffa Boxing, right? You think they're going to be outdone? Come on, Zuffa. It was announced that they signed a Sky Sports deal to broadcast in the UK. So now they're on Paramount Plus and Sky Sports. Their next fight will be in Vegas, and Sky's going to broadcast that one. Dana White says, and I love his quotes. I'm sorry, I love his quotes. Dana White said, "It's not rocket science. We want to put on the best possible fights with the best fighters in the world. Everyone's undefeated in boxing today. That's going to change over the next couple of years. If you look how we built the UFC model, I took everything that I loved about boxing and everything that I hated about boxing when building that business. If it worked so well for the UFC, it's going to work even better for boxing. We will continue to sign not only the best fighters in the world, but fighters that we believe have the potential to be world champions someday. Over the last 10 years in boxing, has been mostly European, and here in the UK, he's obviously being he quoted in the UK with the Sky Boxing, of course. There has been a decline in the United States. Our goal is to build the no-brainers, the United States, UK, Australia, Mexico. That's what we're focusing on. He's right. How many times have I been saying that all the exciting fights happen in the UK? I just said it. I love watching it. UK carries boxing on its back. 100%, 100%. There's rumor that they're looking to sign Berlanga. Now, I'm not a big, huge Berlanga fan, but that would be a decent signing for them, Edgar Berlanga. Edgar thinks he's real good. So got a question. Hey, he says, hey Billy, Netflix ought to make some boxing moves with major fights consistently. There's a formula about why Netflix does that. Netflix, they're trying to get subscribers, obviously, and there may be people that want to watch a fight card that don't have Netflix, so they got to subscribe to Netflix to get it, and then it's their job to keep them. I would agree with you that it may be advantageous to Netflix to try to keep fights on that network, to keep the subscribers that they picked up when they subscribe to watch a fight, that they continue to watch fight, assuming that they're boxing fans. But Netflix has other stuff too that they might lasso them on. So yes, I agree. I think that that would be advantageous for them. That's what I think. My man John is saying Netflix just wants the freak shows. Well, he's right about that. They get the big numbers with the Jake Pauls and the Mike Tysons and those kinds of fights. So who knows? Who knows? The Shadow knows. Oh, but most of you probably don't even know where that came from. But in any event, did you hear that Sugar Ray Leonard and the 1976 U.S. Olympic boxing team is going to be the International Boxing Hall of Fame's Grand Marshals? I love Sugar Ray Leonard. Not only I loved him as a fighter. He was one of those fighters that, like Ali for me. Sometimes I liked him, sometimes I didn't. And Sugar Ray was like that. But for me, but I met him several times when he was promoting. I met him up with Baby Joe Macy and some other fights. But the best time I ever had with him was an interview I did in Las Vegas, and it's up on our YouTube page. Or if you want a link to it, just drop me an email, Billy@talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and I'll get that for you. But I'm glad to see that he's doing that because he's a pretty cool guy and he's in great shape, and he's fun to talk to. That's for sure. If you have never seen that interview, you should check it out for sure. But right now, I want to introduce a guy that's joining us. I told you about it in the beginning of the show. He's done some great stuff with boxing, even though I think his real business is in the music business. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Carl Weingarten joins us. What's up, my man?
Hey, how are you doing?
I really appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, thank you
to join us. First and foremost, your main gig is the music business, right?
Yeah, that's primarily what the creative work I've been doing for like several decades. I'm a guitarist and a composer, and been producing instrumental music for my own record label.
Well,
but
cool.
Along the way, I had other interests. Been a fight fan since I was a teenager, and collecting films, at first kind of casually, and then over a period of time, got more and more interested. And when I started producing music videos, I got interested in my own collection, and working with some of the boxing films I'd collected. And so, and I also went to film school when I was young. So I had all these skills, and not much, no place to utilize them, to really take advantage of them until digital video came along. And then I got some equipment so I could do digital film to video transfers. And so I began working more with the boxing films. And so my music and the filmmaking have kind of gone hand in hand since then.
Well, that's pretty cool that you started working with boxing. Obviously, that's what we do. And what turned me on to you was I saw the Jack Johnson, Tommy Burns project you worked on, and from what I understand, and I'll be honest with you, the only footage I never saw the end of what you were able to tie in. Usually the fight ended with Tommy Burns knocked out. But tell us about that and how you obtained that and put it all together, digitized that. I know for a fact that takes a really long time to do.
Yeah, I mean, I had a copy of the film for a number of years. I'd seen it, many years ago, and it was first published by Big Fights Incorporated. Jim Jacobs claims to have found the film, and his company with Bill Caton released a 12-minute version of that in the middle 60s. They also produced a couple of documentaries which included Jack Johnson, and they included footage of the Johnson Burns film in that. But they cut the film in such a way to make it appear that they had all the footage. And the truth is that Jim Jacobs had only acquired one reel of film. He says it was from a collector in Australia, and perhaps that's true, but he says he only has one reel of film, and it's the middle rounds. It's not the beginning or the end of the fight. But because they needed to have a release of it, they needed to market the film and make money from it and for television, they re-edited the footage and relabeled the footage, relabeled the rounds to make it appear that you were looking at a highlight of the whole thing. And because they didn't have the end of the fight on film, they created this scenario in the film where there's a freeze frame, and they claimed that the police interrupted the fight and that they stopped the cameras, and that's the last frame that exists. Coincidentally, what looks like Tommy doing kind of a nosedive after Johnson was trying to knock him out. And they said, well, this is where the camera stopped, and then the fight ended, and that was it. That's not what happened, but they just wanted to market the film. A partial version of the film wasn't marketable for them. I mean, just showing a portion of it. They had to make it seem like they had the whole thing. Anyway, so over the years, there were newspaper reports and rumors from people, collectors, people that, boxing historians said, it doesn't exactly jive with accounts from the time. And if you look at the newspaper accounts, it seemed a little fishy, his story versus the eyewitnesses. And then more telling was that in 1908, early 1909, a production of the fight movie was released to the public, Australia and the US and Europe. And there are reviews that you could go back and look at of people that went and looked at the film and reviewed it like you'd review any film, any movie that's shown in theaters. And they said quite clearly that it went 14 rounds. Tommy was in big trouble. He'd been knocked down in the beginning of the 14th, and Johnson was all over him. And the police who were there at the time, the police were there just to make sure nobody got killed or no fighters were seriously injured, because referees in that time were not stopping fights. They were not protecting fighters in that way. So the police who had been there signaled from ringside and said, stop. And then the referee yelled to Jack Johnson to stop punching. And he did. And the police stepped into the ring to make it official. The referee, who's also the promoter of the fight, said, well, Johnson was ahead on points. So at this point, the bout is being stopped and Johnson's the winner. And Johnson walked to his corner. Apparently, it was being celebrated. Tommy Burns walked to his corner, and that was it. So
you took that fight, and you colorized it and everything. Tell us about that.
Oh, actually, I didn't colorize it, maybe, but there are versions online of people have taken that footage and colorized it. What I did is
your piece wasn't colorized. It was just you just put it all together.
Yeah, the documentary includes color photos or duotone photos, but the fight footage itself is not colorized.
Oh no. I knew that the fight wasn't color, but anyway, go ahead. I didn't mean.
No, I have a 16 millimeter copy print from the Big Fights Incorporated on 16 millimeter. It's the same kind of print they sent around to television between the 60s and 70s. And I had it laser scanned at high resolution. So I was able to go into a digital editor and look very closely at the fighters and zoom in closer on the action. And I saw that there was a lot going on that hadn't been discussed in reviews and in narratives of the fight, things that they were doing. Some amazing stuff Johnson was doing in the ring, and the fact that Tommy just kept coming back for more. He just was not quitting, even though he was being overwhelmed. And but the key part is this issue with the freeze frame. As it turns out, Jim Jacobs acquired the film, he claims, in the late 50s, early 60s, and it was kind of big news at the time. And he got a spot on CBS. There was a segment of, I think, Sports Spectacular or one other program where he was being interviewed, and he showed footage that he had, just general footage of the fight to demonstrate that he had this film now, and it hadn't been seen, for decades. Well, within that footage, he was showing a number of different clips. It includes the sequence that he claimed was in the 14th round, and which included the particular freeze frame that they used later on. And the footage continues. An archivist, collector friend of mine had the segment. He said, oh, by the way, it includes stuff that goes on after the freeze frame. So we worked out a trade, an arrangement, and I was able to acquire not a great quality of the segment, and went into the digital editor. I began cutting into the film, seeing that Jacobs and his team had actually spliced up the footage that they had and relabeled rounds. And it was sort of a big jigsaw puzzle to put together. So I began sort of reassembling it as best I could tell from newspaper descriptions. And I found the segment where Johnson is overwhelming Burns, and I inserted this footage, this continued footage at that moment of the freeze frame and after, and lo and behold, it was like a big piece of the puzzle coming together. The fight continued. Tommy was not knocked down at that moment. He was off balance. He regained his balance and almost immediately throws a big overhand right to Johnson, coming back. So after that big flurry that was supposedly, according to a lot of the narratives, that Tommy was about to be knocked out, he was in trouble, but he came right back. So this wasn't the 14th round. This was actually the 7th round.
Let me ask you a question. So there were multiple copies of this film. Like, were these copies of an original? I always thought that part of Big Fights, they were original films. I knew Steve Lott. I don't know if you ever had.
I knew Steve. Steve was a great guy.
Yeah. Steve gave us He was the last guy with
Yes.
rights. He had given us the rights to rebroadcast a couple of things that he
Yeah.
had
He was
in his
very
collection.
generous.
So is that was it the same video that they cut and spliced themselves, and then someone else ended up with those pieces, or were there multiple copies of that? That's the question.
Well, as far as we can tell, there's only a single reel that has been found of that fight. That is to say, a single 35 millimeter theatrical print. The originals are, I'm sure, long gone. So all that we know of is the single reel that Jacobs claimed he obtained from a collector in Australia. There may have been a few copies made of that print given to people like the archives in Australia, a couple other people possibly, but he took that one reel, rounds 6 through 10, and they recut it and relabeled different segments as rounds 1, 5, I think it's 8, 11, and 14, which are really variations of rounds 6 through 9, cut to a different order. So he had that, and he and Caton created this 12-minute version of the film that was distributed to television and has subsequently also been used in a number of documentaries. They literally take his rendition of that and have placed it in other documentaries that have sort of carried on this myth. It was nobody's fault. They didn't know. For a long time, everybody took that what Jacob said was gospel. And it wasn't. They made up a story just because they needed to market this film, not because he wanted to change history or do anything nefarious. They had a business and they were trying to make money with these films. That's what they were in business for. And I should also say that they have to be thanked for all the work they did for decades, seeking out all of these films, which would be long gone at this point, especially anything prior to Jack Dempsey. Most of that footage, we have to thank them for recovering and bringing it into their archive. So they did a tremendous, tremendous service to those of us in the boxing community and those of us who love boxing history.
No, I agree with you 100%. You got some. Speaking of Dempsey, you have some stuff on Dempsey too, right?
Yeah, I did a piece on 2 pieces with Jack Dempsey. One of the second Tony Dempsey fight, the long count fight, and it focused mainly on the audio. That the fight was broadcast over the air, and but the surviving films, most of the presentations you see of the film are silent. Well, a company in the Midwest, a record label, set up a recording machine and recorded on 10 vinyl discs the 10 rounds of the fight over the air, literally sticking a mic in front of a radio. But those recordings have been long since were forgotten. Archivists had them, but never utilized them. I never saw anybody attempt to synchronize the audio and the video. So I thought this is something that would be a lot of fun to do. The guy who called the fight, McNamara, he was like a pioneer in the business of sports radio calls. So I went into that 7th round and married his audio call live with the silent film, just to give viewers just a sense of the excitement, and bring to life a little bit more that particular round and the long count and that moment and what was going on. That was one film. The other was a close look at the Dempsey Firpo fight. And going in, I did high-res scans of that film, and I want to just moment by moment go through that. Dempsey was actually down 3 times. A lot has been written about that fight, a lot of myth making about the fight. I wanted to just take a deep dive into that film and say, this is what the film shows. This is maybe not what the myth says, but the film shows things like when Dempsey was knocked out of the ring, he wasn't out of the ring till 9 and just barely made it back in. He was back in the ring in less than 5 seconds. His feet, the lower part of his legs never came off the apron. He was still partially on the apron, and then scrambled back into the ring. The punch that Firpo knocked him out of the ring, if you slow it down and look closely, it's a half punch and a half shove. I don't know if he was just punching that Dempsey would have fallen out of there, but it's just sort of interesting. It was an incredibly wild fight, back and forth. Dempsey down 3 times, once at the beginning of the fight, once in the middle of the first round, and then, of course, being out of the ring. Firpo was down a number of times, but he got up and came back fiercely every single time. It was a very, very exciting fight, and I thought people would enjoy seeing kind of to put the whole thing into slow motion and bring it a little bit closer, take a closer look at it. And there's just more to learn when you're doing that, and it's a lot of fun, especially for boxing tweakers like myself who enjoy that stuff.
Well, I tell you something, Carl. I love that you have that interest, and we certainly need it. One of my things that I'm constantly saying is that boxing's that sport that I believe fans need to know about the history. It's a little different. I mean, every sport has its history, but boxing, the price these guys paid was so high. I just feel that, boxing fans owe it to the sport to learn a little about that. And I'm always trying to push the younger fans into, watching, or even, God, should I say it, pick up a book and read, on certain things, but I'm so glad that you're doing this. How can people watch your stuff?
My YouTube page is called Fight Films Guy. I just thought of a better
Films
name.
Guy on YouTube.
At Fight Films Guy YouTube.
Yeah, and you got a bunch of stuff up there.
Yeah, I have a number of films. I've been doing this for a few years now, and I have a number of the films up there from all of them from my collection, where I've scanned them and maybe done a little bit of cleanup on them and made a good presentation of them. Some of them are complete fights, some of them are highlights. But I started doing these documentaries a couple of years ago, and that's where I'm focused on now. I think it's fun. I think people seem to enjoy those. I think it's more informative. And like you said, a lot of the younger fans, they're not really interested in the earlier eras. I mean, even predating like the 80s or 70s. And I understand. I mean, when I was that age, I was there. I was all about the 70s and 80s fighters, but the more I learned about the older fighters and the old fights, the more interested I was, the more it brought interest to the current fighters. You see the journey of styles.
Yes.
You see the changes, the changes in the rules, the changes in what they could get away with in the ring.
100%.
The conditioning, the pace of the fights. At its most, those fights back at the turn of the century were, when they were at their fiercest, they were no less devastating. They were no less brawls than anything you would see today. And in fact, we're talking about 4-ounce gloves, not 8 or 10 ounce.
Believe me.
And I'm not saying that the one is better than the other or anything like that. It's just different. And those differences are interesting themselves.
It was amazing. Dempsey was one of my favorite fighters. So, it's interesting even more. I happen to have written a book about a freed slave. His name was Tom Molyneux.
Yeah.
And, that's, 100 years before. And it was, people look at the Dempsey time, even the Jack Johnson times, and they look at that as rough and tumble. Well, you go back to bare knuckle. It's even worse. I got a guy. Now, I'm going to forewarn you because he always comes up with these questions.
Okay.
They don't make any sense to me, but every time he asks the question, the person that I'm asking the question to, it means something to. Okay. This is
All
from
right.
my man, Coach. He says, ask Carl if you could go back to Camp Sherwood Forest with modern digital restoration, is there a specific film you made that you'd want to fix or score with your slide guitar? And he's asking, Great Escape?
Okay. I actually did put some of my own music in this latest documentary. I play slide guitar, play acoustic bottleneck as well as electric styles as well. I'm still trying to work that out. Trying to think of a film, any film. I would love to work with Ken Burns and do some music for him. I would enjoy
Coach.
that.
Coach always asks these. We had a guest on. He asked a question. The guy called me the next morning. He's like, "Who is this guy? Only so and so. No, only so many people know this." Blah blah blah. I said, "Calm down." He's. But anyway, Carl, I really appreciate you taking the time. And,
my pleasure.
At Fight Films Guy, right?
Yes.
At Fight Films Guy on YouTube. Of course, I checked it out. It's great stuff, and you guys should check it out too. Carl, if you ever want to come back on again, just let me know. I'd love to have you.
My pleasure. I would love to do that.
All right, my man. Stay in touch.
Okay, you take care.
All right. That's Carl Weingarten. Check out his site or check out his YouTube page. He's got some stuff on Johnson and Ketchel, which I was going to talk to him about too, but we just got I found too many questions to ask him during the time. He's also got a pretty good Rocky Marciano thing. He's got multiple parts. I think there's 5 parts. And another thing, and I didn't want to bore everybody, but the thing that interested me, and Coach, you'll probably get a kick out of this. Gunboat Smith. Now, for all you true boxing fans, you've heard of Gunboat Smith back in the same era that he's talking about. Was a tough journeyman type fighter, and he's got some footage of him sparring, which ought to be interesting to see. I didn't get to watch that one yet, but hey, there's some boxing. I normally this Friday, Let's Get It On Promotions, which was started by Mills Lane and is now being run by his 2 sons. They did a lot of shows in Reno. I didn't realize they were still promoting. I just happened to see over the wire that they got a fight happening this weekend in Reno. So I'm glad to see that they're back in the mix. Okay, speaking of fights, we got some fights coming up this weekend that I can't wait to see. There's actually 3 that I'm going to talk about. The first one is a fight that's taking place on Friday. It's on DAZN, of course, and it features a guy I've gotten to see ringside a couple of times, Kevin Walsh, and he's going over to Ireland to fight the Irish fighter in Michael Conlan. Now, Michael Conlan, I don't know if you guys know who Michael Conlan is, I should say, but he was a highly decorated amateur and a huge fan favorite. And he was tooling along his career. He's got a record right now, 20 wins, 3 losses, 10 of his wins coming by knockout. He was stopped 3 times. He had some back-to-back losses in 2023, but he's come back with an 8-round decision over Assad Khan in March. And in his last fight, which may be his best performance in a long time, a 4th-round stoppage over Jack Bateson, who was 20 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw at the time. He's an action-packed fighter, and he's, like I said, he's got a record of 20 wins, 3 losses. He's 34 years old. He's 5'8". He's got a 69-inch reach, which happens to be a 4-inch reach advantage over his opponent, Kevin Walsh. Kevin Walsh is undefeated. He's 19-0 with 10 of his wins coming by knockout. The computer ranks him at number 66. Oh, by the way, Michael Conlon, his computer ranks him at number 57. The WBC has him at 9, and he's not rated anywhere else. WBO, IBF, WBA, Ring, or ESPN, and IBO Top 100 has him at 45. See, this is what bothers me about the sanctioning bodies. If a fighter is really ranked in your top 12 and he's not a champion, I get that they don't rank the champions. Are you telling me that, and this guy is ranked in number 9 by the WBC, you're telling me he's not in the top 12 or 15 in the other sanctioning bodies? If he's a true number 9, or it's the other way around. He's not a true number 9, right? He steps in the ring with undefeated Kevin Walsh, 19-0, 10 of his wins coming by knockout. The computer ranks him at number 66. So I told you these fights are all pretty interesting, and I think they're going to be entertaining. Yes, I'm responding to Love It in the chat room. Yes, I got it. I replied to your email. Computer ranks him at number 66. He's not rated by any of the sanctioning bodies, WBC, WBO, IBF, or the WBA, or the Ring magazine, or ESPN. He is number 61 on the IBO's Top 100. He's 33 years old, just a year younger than Conlon. 5'7". They're about the same height, but he's got a 65-inch reach, which is 4 inches shorter than Michael Conlon. Both of these fighters have a similar style, but I like watching Kevin Walsh fight. He can box, and Michael Conlon's more of a, he tries to set up his jab, but he does get a little wild at times. The best win of Kevin Walsh's career, in my opinion, he won a 10, and of course, did the 2 fights I got to see, 10-round split decision over Tremaine Williams, which was a good fighter at the time, May 2025, and that was at Foxwoods, and I was ringside for that. And then his last fight, which was an 8-round unanimous decision over Jose Socha, took place November of last year. I was ringside for that at the Mohegan Sun. So a couple of good wins there. My man Jimmy Birchfield promotes him. They have a team over there right now. Michael Conlon is a good fighter. He has seemed to have come back from his knockout losses. This fight is real even. In my opinion, it's a true 50-50 fight. But I got to go with Kevin Walsh in this. It's going to be a hard win for him. He's in Conlon's backyard. You know how the Irish are. St. Paddy's Day, they started celebrating last weekend. They're still going until probably Sunday. But I'm going to go for the upset here. I'm taking Kevin Walsh in that fight. In another fight that I can't wait to see is a young fighter who's kind of skyrocketing. George Liddard. And Liddard is 13-0 with 8 knockouts. He's from England. The computer has him at number 28. The WBA has him at number 12, and the IBF has him at number 15. Not rated, of course, in the Ring or ESPN or even WBC or WBO. And the IBO Top 100 computer system has it at number 30. He's not a bad fighter. He's young. He's going to be 11 years younger than his opponent. 5'10". It's roughly the same. He's going to be fighting in his backyard. His best wins December of 2024 when he blew out Omar Alunga in the first round. And then May of 2025, he stopped Aaron Sutton in the 5th. And then in his last fight, he stopped Kieran Conway in 10 rounds, and that took place in October. He's an exciting fighter, just another one of these exciting fighters out of the UK. Young kid, 23, and he steps in the ring. And here, I just want to make a point. He's ranked, he's 13-0, and he's already in the top 15 in 2 sanctioning bodies, just saying. Tyler Denny is his opponent. He's 21 wins, 3 losses. Out of his 21 wins, 1 knockout. He's got less than 5% knockout ratio. Of his 3 losses, he was stopped both times. 1 knockout and 21 wins. That's pretty crazy. I remember a heavyweight named Zuri Lawrence, who I forget how many fights he had to fight before he got his first knockout. I'm thinking 20. I'm thinking more than 20. The computer ranks Tyler Denny at number 51. He's not rated in the WBC, the WBO, the IBF, the WBA, the Ring Magazine, or ESPN. He is at number 49 by the IBO Top 100. His best wins, a 10-round decision over Brad Pauls in February of 2023. He won a technical unanimous decision over Felix Cash in 2024, in June of 2024. And he won a 10-round decision over Elvis Ahorage in April of 2024. He's a southpaw, 5'10", pretty similar in height. He's a slick fighter, Tyler Denny. He didn't get 21 wins with no knockouts for being a power puncher, but he's stepping in the ring with a guy that likes to come at you. He's stepping in the ring with a guy that's going to be, in his home town. I mean, they're both from the UK, but George Lidard is going to be in his hometown in this fight. I'm picking George Lidard in this one. In what I think is going to be the best fight of the weekend, is going to put it's a middleweight championship fight. The Carlos Adames, which is WBC world middleweight champion, is taking on Austin Williams. Carlos Adames, his record 24 wins, 18 coming by knockout. His only loss was against Patrick Teixeira in 2019. And his draw, he's 24 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. His draw was a total robbery, okay? Listen, I like Hazma Shiraz, but the truth of the matter was this was a total robbery. Shiraz deserved no way, shape, or form a draw in this fight, and Adames got the raw end of the deal. An injury slowed down the fight, his next fight, so the computer doesn't have him ranked because he's been out over a year by like a couple of weeks. He's not rated in the WBO, the IBF, or the WBA. Why? Because he's the WBC champion. However, the Ring Magazine and ESPN both have him ranked at number 1. So I mean, he's a legitimate champion. 5'11". He's got a 75% knockout ratio. He's got big wins over Alex Flores, Sergio Derevyanchenko, Julian Williams, and Terrell Joshua. To name, he's a proven fighter. I'm still mad about the Shiraz fight. He won that fight, but anyway, he steps in the ring with once beaten Austin Williams. He's 20 wins, 1 loss, 13 of his wins coming by knockout. His only knockout loss came to the hands of, who do you think? Hazma Shiraz, right? So Shiraz knocked out Austin Williams. Listen, Shiraz, I like him. I just think that he did not win the fight against Adames. I think he's a good young fighter, and he's definitely going to be a name that we're going to be seeing a lot of, especially since he's in Turki Al-Rashid's stable. But that's Austin Williams' only loss. This fight's taking place in Florida on Saturday. By the way, I told you the Kevin Walsh, Michael Conlon fight's taking place on Friday. The Lidard and Denny fight's taking place on Saturday from England. And the Austin Williams, Carlos Adames fight is taking place on Saturday in Florida, all on the Zone. The best wins for Austin, well, let me give you his ranking first. He's ranked number 7 in the world by the computer. The WBC has him at number 3. And ironically enough, the WBO, the IBF, or the WBA don't have him ranked. The Ring has him at number 8. ESPN has him at number 10. And IBO's Top 100 computer system has him at number 5. He's a real legitimate opponent. There's no question about that. He is 29 years old. He, too, is a southpaw. Not that Adames is, but another southpaw we're talking about. Adames is an orthodox fighter. 6 foot, around the same height. But he's got a 5-inch reach advantage at 78. And Excuse me, Adames is at 73. His best wins, he won a 10-round decision over Steve Rolls. I don't know if you remember Steve Rolls. This was in 2023. Steve Rolls was a good fighter, and he got a 10-round decision over him. He also got a 12-round decision over Patrice Volney in March of 2025. And his last fight, which took place took place this past January, he won a 10-round decision over Wendy Toussaint at Madison Square Garden in January. This is a good fight, but you know something, Carlos Adames, I just think he's got some pop. You know, a guy with a 75% knockout ratio who lands punches, who comes at you, and he's gonna have to come at Austin Williams because of the reach advantage. I'm picking Carlos Adames to retain his WBC title in that one. Finally, I just wanted to mention about a heavyweight fight that's going to be taking place in April. And I like this fight. You know, we got Jarrell Miller and Lenier Piro is going to be fighting. And believe it or not, and I say this because Piro, you know, he's got 13 fights under his belt, but this happens to be a WBA World Heavyweight elimination fight. So the winner of this fight gets a shot at the title. Miller, 27 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws, and 22 of his knockouts. If you recall, his last fight was he beat Kinsley Iba. He struggled over Iba. He ended up winning a close fight. But what everybody remembers was his wig, his toupee falling off. And him handling it pretty good. I like the way he handled it. 37 years old. When they talked about this fight, his quote was, "The most exciting, most entertaining heavyweight in the world is back in action, bringing the fireworks." He's talking about himself, and he says, "And remember, when you step in the ring with me, there's always a price to pay." Spelled Toupee. I love that. He's even funny. Now he steps in the ring with Pero, who's an up-and-coming top prospect fighter. He's 13-0 with 8 knockouts. The WBA has him ranked at number 2. He's a young fighter. You know, Miller can be tough, man. Miller can be tough. I like the fight. I like the fight. I think it's, I think it's going to really tell us about Pero. And if I'm an idiot by saying that, you know, sometimes fighters, they're just not as good. They need to fight more, and they need to up their level of opposition. Now, if in this case, I like it. I like that Pero is fighting Miller. What I don't like is, should he win, he gets an automatic shot at a world title with 14 fights. But I think it's going to be a tough fight. You know, if Miller comes to fight, it's going to be a tough fight. Pero said, "I respect Jarrell Miller and what he brings to the ring, but this is a big opportunity for me to keep moving forward. I've worked my entire life for moments like this, and every fight's another step toward my goal of being a world champion. One thing I want to let the world to know is that I'm coming in with everything I got. I'm staying humble, focused, and I'm ready to show the fans in Vegas and around the world on DAZN the best version of myself on April." No disrespect to Pero, but this is some of my issue. Of course, his goal of becoming a champion, but by his choice of words, it almost sounds like he thinks he's already kind of there. And I feel bad when you say, and for people around, I want to tell the world, I wish boxing was that mainstream sport again, because then a young guy like Pero would be telling the world, but I'm glad he's fighting Miller. I like the fight. I think it's going to be entertaining, and I like the fight. I give Pero credit for fighting Miller. Miller's not an easy out, and you could say, "Oh, he's shot, he's this." He comes in, a donut shy at 300 pounds, maybe even over 300 pounds. But, when he gets that second wind, which he seems to do in the second parts of fights, he's a tough out. It's going to be a good test for Pero. So, anyway, hey, listen, boys and girls, next week we have a really good guest, too. coming on. We have his undefeated fighter. I was talking about Jimmy Birchfield. He's actually in that stable, and we're catching him a couple of days before he fights. He's scheduled to come on Wednesday. He's fighting that Saturday, and he's undefeated middleweight, 21-0, 17 knockouts. Frank the Tank Hogan. This kid is going to be a champ. So make sure you tune in next week, and we'll chat with him. Hey, listen, boys and girls, I appreciate you stopping by. And all I can say is make sure you tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.